Hey y'all. Well, it's getting late in the evening. I just came back out just to mess around a little bit. I'm flattening the top of these beds a little bit. You can see where the rotavator creates a ridge. So I'm just pulling that ridge just over into the row itself just to make it flat. I'm hoping it's not going to rain tomorrow. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. If it does, we need it, so I shouldn't complain. But I sure would like to finish getting this done. There's Tugs. I sure would like to finish getting this done. I did get all the beds rotavatored. Is that a word? I don't know. I'm going to say it is. And let me show you. This is my first time doing the whole thing with the rotavator. And actually even creating the spacing. And I want the spacing to be, at least this wide, so that the lawnmower can easily go through. These are our living pathways, and we liked that this year. We liked not having to walk around in the mud, and we liked the way it looked, and it was much easier to keep clean. But down here, it'd be kind of hard to show you because I've got these big humps in the middle that I've got to take my garden rake and smooth down. Okay, so this is the row. This is the path. And this is the row. And so on. Path. And row. And path. And row. And all the way down like this. The good thing is that this year should be the last year that we actually have to shape these beds. They may or may not ever get rotavated again because we will be planting a row cover on top. This year is going to be, like I told you guys last week, the winter wheat. And this is a path. I know that looks like it might be a row, but it's not. That's a path. And a row. I'll just go on down. And a path. And a row. And a path. And a row. And a path. And then the last row. But as soon as I get everything shaped and everything squared away, the top smoothed, I think I've decided, Chelsea and I discussed this earlier today, she's still struggling with her neck, but she will be going back to the orthopedic surgeon this week to find out what they're planning on doing for her. She's hoping that it's just going to be physical therapy and not a surgery, but she will do whichever she needs to do. But we'll just put the cover crop, which this year is going to be winter wheat, on top of the row itself. And I don't know if we'll get some kind of, you can see I'm shaking, I'm a little tired. Let me get the other hand. I don't know if we're going to get maybe grass seed or something different to go in the row itself. And I'm thinking probably, it will depend on whether it's less expensive than the winter wheat. If it's less expensive, we'll cover it with the grass seed. If it's more expensive, we'll just put the cover crop on everything, because next spring when we mow it down, the grass will continue. That'll give us a nice surface anyway, and the grass and the weeds and everything will grow up, and we'll just keep those mowed. And then by probably about May or June, these pathways down here will look like these pathways up here, these living pathways. So yeah, yep. You can see the end where I've got these big humps of dirt. Yeah, those have to be shaped, and I'll show you up here what I'm doing to just give the water a channel to come out of these rows. Because if you notice, I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a little crest in the middle of this field. It goes up and then back down the other side. So when it rains hard, I want the rain to come out of these little rows instead of washing through them. So at the end of each row, I'm creating just a little channel for them to come out of. And we do this always. And it works. I mean, this is years and years and years. So it does work. But yes, I am so glad to have this job at least halfway done. And we were going to put compost, not the compost that we've created, but compost over there behind those trees. I don't know if you can see it. Let me increase the lens size so you can see. Let's see that big pile over there behind those trees. That is cow paduki that Hugh has cleaned the barn out, and so it has sat there now for at least a year. So it's complete. It's finished. Whatever it was going to do, it has finished. And I was going to put an inch on top of these beds, but instead I think that I'm just going to get the cover crop on them. It's getting late in the season, and this spring when we knock the cover crop over and then put plastic on it to let it extinguish, I may go ahead and put maybe an inch layer of compost over top of it, and then also just sprinkle in some organic fertilizer before I plant. But no, I won't, because you guys, I'm thinking as I'm talking, because the purpose, one of the reasons I wanted to use just the extinguished cover crop is as a barrier for the mud, to keep it from splattering up on the plants themselves. So no, that stuff over there will go on at this point next fall, when everything's finished for the season. And then I still may go ahead and use that before we plant, because I really don't want to wait that long. All right. Second thoughts, third thoughts, fourth thoughts. I'm going to put that on there on each one of these rows. I just didn't want to work that hard before I plant the winter wheat. There we go. Decision made. Can you imagine being Hugh? But now I got to tell you guys, he's worse than I am. To change his mind, oh my gosh. In this family, we all tend to change our mind quite literally a dozen times before we finally get going with an idea. But I don't think that's a character flaw. I just think it's hi darling, hi sweet girl. I just think it's the way that we're created. We all have ADHD in this family, which causes our brain to kind of frizzle out. We go 15 different directions trying to make a decision. So, I don't know. I think it's just because we're all kind of creative. And so it takes a minute to get to a decision. And that's okay. We get there eventually. All right. And now you'll notice, or you may not notice, how far away. See this, where I smoothed this dirt down right here, the beds themselves came out to the edge of this. And I moved them back probably at least 10 feet. And I did that on the other side as well. So these rows are a great deal shorter than they were, or will be a great deal shorter than they were last year, or this summer. And the reason for that is because we're going to be building the raised beds all along the fence. And they're not going to be high. Look at the moon, y'all. They're not going to be high. They're just going to be maybe about a foot high. And, but snugged up against the fence, I'm going to have to put chicken wire or field fence to keep our girls from sticking their heads through and eating what we grow inside of these raised beds. But they're only going to be about 2.5 feet deep. I mean, 2.5 feet, from the fence out this direction. and about a foot high. The reason for that is because we're going to plant them with all of the perennial cut flowers. Perennial, whatever we have going, will be going in these. And that will be good. So that'll be something that we're not going to have to replant every year. That will be ready for us each season. We'll just have to clean them out a little bit, mulch them a little bit, and they'll be ready to go as soon as the weather changes. And over there, along that fence line over there, we're going to have the same thing, but it will be plants that will work better, obviously, in shade. So there are plants that are shade-loving plants that won't do so well over here, and over here will be the full sun plants that will be happy. And so that's the reason I wanted to make these beds so much shorter, because when we do have the tractor in this garden, I don't want anybody running over my raised beds on accident. So I left plenty of space. Plenty of space. All right, y'all. I know this whole conversation was kind of convoluted. I think partly because my brain is tired and my body is tired, and I'm ready to call it a day. I'm ready to go in and take a shower and sit down in my recliner and just chill out for the evening. Hugh and John worked over there all afternoon. Let me increase. I'll be quiet for just a second. And you can see they got the sawmill set back under the shed. So now it just comes down to getting the tin on top. Yeah, things are getting done. We're a little slow around here, but we eventually get things finished. But anyway, I hope your evening is beautiful. This has been a cooler day than it was last week. Still beautiful. And finally feeling a little more like autumn. And that makes me happy. It really needs to feel a little bit more like autumn. All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon. Love you much. Bye-bye.